old woman's house was a stone cottage with a thatched roof and a wooden floor. It was small, but it had a bed and a fire and a door that shut tight. The boy had no other possessions than what he could carry in a single pack, a few changes of clothing and a little food, and the clothes he stood up in. He had his pack and a knife and his staff, and that was all. When the old woman looked at him, he knew she knew what he was. She had seen things like him before, he thought, or heard stories about them. She watched him with sharp black eyes as he sat by the fire, warming himself after his long journey, but he did not mind. She could tell that he was different from other people. She kept her voice low, so the boy could not hear her when she spoke to the other people in the room. She did not have to speak loudly. They all understood each other. The boy did not understand much of what was said around him, but he recognized the word history. The old man and the old woman who ran the house had a lot of stories about history. The boy had never heard of such a thing before he came here, and now that he was in the room with them, he found that he was beginning to see how strange they must seem. He didn't know how many people were in the room. He only saw 3, but there seemed to be dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of people sitting or standing in the corners of the room and on the floor and the benches. There were men and women of every kind of skin, wearing clothing of every kind of material. Some wore crowns, some wore rags. Some of them sat down while they talked to him. Others wandered through the crowd, coming and going. He saw men and women who were bold and had white hair, people with bright orange skin, people with gray skin that had streaks of red and green running through it. A man with scales instead of skin sat beside him at the fire. Another man with long, flat fingers sat at another fire, wearing a pair of leather gloves, and a woman with only one arm sat at yet another fire, holding a bowl of soup. He heard the old man say, "So what is this young man?" "I don't know," said the old woman. "I have never seen him before in my life." The old man scowled. He looked at the boy for a long time before he asked, "What is your name?" The boy did not know how to answer that question. He could not tell them his real name, or his name as it would have been if his father had been his father, and his mother had been his mother. He answered, "I have no name." "None at all?" said the old woman, sounding surprised. "No," said the boy. "I don't know why I have a name, but I don't." The old man looked at him again, and this time the boy could tell that he was thinking hard. The old woman said, "Is it true, as you said earlier? Are you the one who can change history?" "No," said the boy, although he felt that maybe he had changed history. If a moment ago he had not been sitting here with these strange people. "I don't know if I am the one who can change history or not. I only know that I can do something that will change history. Or maybe it's not me. Maybe it's my staff." "What is your staff made of?" asked the old man. The boy touched his staff, which was made from a branch that was half as thick as he was. He said, "I don't know. I never asked it that question." The old woman said, "The staff you carry is made of wood. You cannot change history with wood." The boy thought about this for a long time as he warmed himself by the fire. At last he said, "I have been given this staff, and I have been told to use it to change history. And I have been given a task to do to help someone I love to win her rightful place in history." He looked down at his staff and said quietly, "If this is wood, then I have nothing to fear." He had no idea what he meant by that, and neither did the old man or the old woman, but they understood that it was a prophecy, and that was good. He would have preferred a prophecy that told him where his home was or how he could get back there, but a prophecy that told him he would be able to help someone he loved win a rightful place in history was better than nothing at all. "Well," said the old man, "since you cannot change history with your staff, we must ask you to change it with your name." The boy frowned. "My name?" "Your real name," said the old woman. She pulled a chair close to the boy's fire, sat down, and set down the bowl of soup she had been holding. "You have no name," she said. "Or if you do, it's one that's no use to anyone." The old man took a step closer to the boy. He said, "I know you're very young, but you can understand that names are important." The boy nodded. He was still thinking about his own name. He had never known his real name, or his name as it would have been if his father had been his father and his mother had been his mother. He said, "I understand that." The old woman said, "What's your name?" The boy thought about this question for a long time before he said, "I don't know. I have no idea." He felt sad then, as if he had forgotten something he had lost, or something he should have known, but didn't. He said, "Maybe I don't have a real name at all. I only know that my name doesn't work." "But your staff does," said the old man. "Can you change history with your staff?" The boy shook his head. "I don't know," he said again. "Then let us give you a name," said the old man, "so that you can try." The boy sat very still in his chair. He heard the old man move away, Then the old woman moved forward to stand beside him. He felt a gentle touch on his arm and opened his eyes to see the old woman smiling at him. Her smile was white and friendly, her face creased with wrinkles, but her eyes were sharp and clever and keen as a bird's. She said, "We have waited a long time for you to come here. We knew you would come when you were ready." She held out her hand to him. He reached out to take it. The old man said, "We will call you Seegson." The boy blinked. He did not understand what that meant. But when the old man asked him his real name again, he shook his head and answered, "No." "But you're going to give us your real name," said the old man. "Why can't you give us your true name? Why won't you give us your name as it would be if your father had been your father and your mother had been your mother?" The boy thought about this question too, and at last he shook his head and said, "I don't know if I have a name like that." The old woman put her arm around his shoulders. She said, "But you have something better than that. You have a staff and a task. That is more than most people ever have." The boy frowned at her. "What is my task? How do I change history?" The old man shook his head and said, "That's a question only the two of us can answer. For now let us ask you this. What are you called? What do you call yourself? What are you?" The boy thought about this question as well. At last he said, "My name is Seegson." The old man smiled. "Well," he said, "Seegson it is. That's a fine name. It's better than anything else you might have had." The old man lifted the boy's right hand from his lap and put something into it. A smooth round object that felt as though it was made from wood. "Here," he said, "take this with you. When you go out into the world, you will need it when the time comes to use your power." The boy lifted the object into the light of the fire. He saw that it was carved from wood. It looked like a small tree with branches growing from its side. "A staff," he said. He looked at the old man with sudden fear. "Will it make me stronger than any other person?" "It will," said the old man, "but it will also be your first teacher. You will learn what to do with your staff, what is right for your purpose, when the time comes." The boy stared at his new staff for a moment more and then turned away to look at his other new possessions. The heavy cloak with a hood to cover his face, the boots to wear on his feet and keep him from freezing in the snows of winter, the gloves to wrap his hands in so they wouldn't freeze or hurt. Finally, he looked up again and asked the old man and the old woman, "Will you tell me now how I can find my way out of this place?" "Yes," they said together. And then they both started talking at once. They had forgotten that they could not understand each other's language any more than the boy could understand them. But finally they stopped and looked at each other as if they were sharing the same thought. They would not be able to teach the boy everything he needed to know by themselves. They must find someone else who could help him learn more about his task and how to use his powers.